Hi, I'm John Van Allen. The purpose of this podcast is to discuss audit issues, primarily cooperating with the auditor. There are a couple main things to keep in mind about the level of cooperation that you provide to an auditor. The first is that an auditor has discretion, and whenever an issue crops up in an audit, which they invariably do, you're going to want to ask for and hopefully receive some discretion from the auditor to work around the problem. And having a cooperative relationship allows you to do that. You also don't want to be too cooperative because you don't want them sticking around and making a home in your offices. So you want to treat them objectively, keep them at an arm's length, keep them in their own separate room so that they're not walking around your place of business looking for trouble. And you want to treat them professionally the way that you would want to be treated. The main point that we want to talk about, though, is what happens if there's a breakdown in the cooperation between the auditor and the taxpayer. We've unfortunately seen instances where, for various reasons, usually involving miscommunications back and forth between the taxpayer and the audit never really gets off on a good foot. Instead, the auditor's been requesting some documents or requesting access to the documents. It's not received them. The audit isn't going anywhere. It's been several months, and eventually the auditor just throws up his hands and says, "That's it. I'm done. I can't take this anymore." And the auditor leaves. While that's the end of the audit, it's the start of an assessment. And typically what we've seen is that the Department of Revenue will take 6% of a company's purchases as the tax due, and essentially assess tax on 100% of a company's purchases during the audit period. We've actually seen it worse. In one instance, we've actually seen it where the Department of Revenue assessed tax on 100% of the sales during the audit period, and the taxpayer then has the burden to prove that that's incorrect. So on appeal, the taxpayer has to show all the purchases that they made or all the sales that they made, and then show which ones were exempt and which ones were taxable. In other words, they have to conduct an audit without any auditor's discretion at the Board of Appeals or Board of Finance and Revenue. One major problem associated with this is that the taxpayer also has to post security that show that Commonwealth that the ultimate collection of the assessment is not in jeopardy. And you can't do that simply by saying that this is a ridiculous assessment and it's going to be reduced on appeal. Rather, you have to do it through showing financial statements. And if the department does not like those financial statements to show that you owe a significant amount of tax, and if you had $10 million worth of purchases and 6% of that $600,000, with penalties and interest, you're talking about $1 million assessment. If the department thinks that $1 million is in jeopardy, they're going to require that you post security, usually in the form of a letter of credit or a bond. A letter of credit is about 1.5% of the amount that has to be posted, and a bond is about 3% of cost. So you're looking at spending $15,000 to $30,000 just to post security to fight the assessment, in addition to the other costs associated with the appeal. So our recommendation is that whenever an auditor comes in, whatever you do, make sure that they don't get frustrated and leave and assess 6% of your purchases or 6% of your sales, because that is an absolute train wreck waiting to happen. I'm John Van Allen. Good luck with your audit.